This is one of the episodes from my India Diaries series, and as you can tell, I am back home again. But at the start of this year, I went on the most amazing 2-week textiles tour to Gujarat in India. And before I go and show you one of the parts of the tour, I just want to give a bit of an overview of what I was doing there, who I went with, and what these videos were all about. Now this little section is going to repeat on every video, so if you're watching the whole series, just skip to the end of this bit to get into that particular episode. But let me just give a bit of context. So I went on this textiles tour with a company that's run by a wonderful woman called Sian, and it's called South Asia Uncovered. She does a few little trips each year, but she's super focused on communities and ensuring you get to see a real authentic side of India. The reason I chose to go with her is that I had been recommended it by a customer who said to me, you just have to go do this trip. And the reason I went to Gujarat is all of India has textiles traditions, everywhere does, but Gujarat is the area which has the most embroidery. So that's the reason I went to Gujarat. Throughout the trip, we were accompanied the whole time by Sian, Tuhina, her colleague, who's also a guide, and then when we got into Gujarat, by our guide Pravin, and our driver, Pravin, both same names and nice and confusing, and they were with us the whole time. And I cannot tell you how much having them, with the knowledge they have, the relationships they had, the communities they know, and the experience and understanding to show us what's really important, it created the most incredible trip, so informative, and I really feel like we had an experience that we couldn't have had with anyone else. And that's why I kind of want to show you what we got up to on this trip, because she only runs this trip once a year and there are only 8 places, and so the chances are not everyone is ever going to be able to do this trip, and so I wanted to kind of share with you what we got up to. Now, a few little caveats on everything. I am sharing all the knowledge based on what we kind of were told when we were visiting certain places or from my own experience. I did not go and fact check when I was told something if that was right, so if there is anything that I say which is inaccurate, like by all means please comment, and I apologise for that. Secondly, I'm trying to pronounce everything as best I can, but sometimes the names of crafts and things, I am no good at pronouncing things even in English, let alone Hindi words, so forgive me for any mispronunciations, I'm trying my best. And then there are segments where I'm not going to show you certain things, such as when we go visit certain communities, because actually, these aren't a tourist attraction, they're showing us their crafts and things, but there's this issue of kind of over-tourism potentially affecting the way that lots of communities live, and so we have certain areas of the trip where we didn't want to film, but I'll talk to you about what happened, and hopefully that still gives you a real good context. Now the final thing is, these India Diaries are going to come up in a slightly different order to how I actually experienced it. So whilst we started in Mumbai, then went to Ahmedabad, then to Bhuj, travelled around all of kind of Kutch area from there, I'm actually starting the trip for you in the context of the videos from Ahmedabad, and I am going to come back to Mumbai in the very last video. And the final thing is, I was filming these on the go. I was filming them in hotel rooms, which is usually the best place to have actually a quiet background. And the days were incredibly full on, absolutely jam-packed with so much information, but I wanted to make sure I filmed them regularly, or else I'd forget aspects of the experience, aspects of the kind of people we met. And for my own sake, and for your sake, I didn't want to forget things. But inevitably what that means is sometimes I'm filming quite late at night when I'm a bit tired and slightly mad. I think there is one episode where I did it in my pyjamas. So forgive me also if I seem like a crazy person. I just wanted to make sure I really captured the emotions at that moment in time. So without further ado, I'm going to get stuck into the India Diaries, and I really hope you enjoy this series. Hi everyone, here's the start of my India Diaries, and it's a very uninteresting background because we're currently in Mumbai, and I had thought maybe I'd go down the hotel we're in has a terrace that's overlooking the Arabian Sea, and I thought, that'll be nice, I'll go sit at a table there and sort of record this video, but then went down and it is incredibly windy, and so I'm sure you would not hear a word I said. So instead, I've come back up to the hotel room and thought this was a better place to record. So we've been here for 2 nights now, and tomorrow we're catching a very early, we're up at sort of 5:30 to catch a flight to Ahmedabad and we're going into Gujarat. And so that's when we're going to get into a lot more of the textiles heavy parts of this tour. So for the time being, actually, all we really did today was we did a massive sightseeing of Mumbai. We had a guide called Aman, and he took us around everything and showed us all the sights of Mumbai. And so I'm going to show you loads of clips of it and talk you through basically what we did so you can travel vicariously through me. And overall, I think Mumbai, and so far the trip, Mumbai just seems like such a friendly city. Everywhere along the way, everyone you meet is so happy to interact with you, so happy to kind of have you there. It just feels really friendly and feels really safe. And even to a point where yesterday, I think maybe jet lag and tiredness and probably not eating enough, we went out onto the Marine Drive, which is the big kind of walkway all along the front of the Arabian Sea. And Tuhina, who's one of our guides who's with us the whole time, was giving a really lovely talk about the history of Mumbai and everything. And then I just fainted in front of everyone. And about everyone, every single person in the vicinity on Marine Drive came running over with bottles of water and things to kind of, for me to get me up. And I thought, what a friendly place. I'm not quite sure in London whether so many people would be quite so willing to help. So that I thought was a great intro to just how friendly it is. Anyway, so today we got up early. Well, actually not that early. We set off at 9, and we first started the day by going to the open air laundry. And I think in Mumbai there's 3 main open air laundries, and we went to one of the smaller ones and went to go see where all the dobies, the kind of clothes washers, where they work and how it all works. And one of the things that's quite impressive the whole way through Mumbai is there are 22 million people in this city, and the remarkable order. And while certain things in a way feel chaotic, you go somewhere like the Dobie where there's hundreds of white sheets all drying. They said they never have mistakes about the wrong white sheet going to the wrong person. And the systems they have, the sort of like little writing they write on the labels and everything, it's quite remarkably ingenious in a way that in the UK, we honestly, if anyone tried to do that, about 1 in 5 would probably go to the wrong person or go missing. And it just, so that was really interesting. And then one of the children of the Dobies took us up onto the rooftop, and it was a little precarious. It's sort of not one for people with vertigo, but we went up onto the rooftops amongst all the sheets, and we could then look across the whole of the Dobie and kind of see all the different colourful buildings and see how people are working. And these days, apparently a lot of people in Mumbai now have washing machines and dryers, and so actually a lot of the there's far fewer people having their clothes done than before, but a lot of people still send their clothes to Dobies for ironing. And so for most people, they would have in their building, maybe a Dobie will come to the building once a day, and you can give anything you need. If it's like maybe a particular item of clothing that's particularly stained or something, then that could go, and then it will come back that evening. And it's a sort of, you pay by the piece rather than any sort of size thing. So people do still really use them. And it's a job that's kind of handed down from kind of grandfather to father to son. You know, it goes through the generations. So that was a really great bit to start with. So after we left the Dobie Ghat, then we went to more of the kind of heritage heart of Mumbai and went to go see the Gateway of India, which is this enormous sort of gate which was modelled a little bit off the Taj Mahal, and it was actually there to commemorate when King George and Queen Mary first came to visit. And actually when they first came to visit, the whole thing was made out of plaster, and then subsequently they built it properly. And this is a place where actually there were loads of Indians who were on holiday were all there as well. It's a really big kind of tourist attraction, and so it was really interesting to see it. But also the whole time we were there, my sister particularly, who has ginger hair, was mobbed by hundreds of people the whole time we were there trying to take her photo. And so that's really nice to feel like you're kind of all on holiday, all sightseeing at the same time, seeing all these places. So we went to visit the Gateway of India, and then we travelled down from there past kind of the Royal Yacht Club, past all these different heritage buildings. And from there we went to the Dabawala. It's all right. If any of my pronunciation is wrong on any of this, please forgive me. And also, if anything is, this is everything I've sort of learnt today, and so I want to give you a bit of the information that I've had. But if anything is inaccurate, please forgive me. I'm sort of saying what our guide told us. So from there, we went to one of the train stations where all the Dabawalas were collecting all the lunches that were going to then go out to all the offices across Mumbai. And it was quite amazing to see this, because basically what happens is Mumbai is one of the only cities that works in India with the Dabawala like this, as I understand it, because it was the first city that kind of had commuter trains, and the only reason it works is because you've got the trains. So people would come in on the train, they would come to the office, and they would have set off at sort of 7 a.m. But because the trains are so busy, people didn't have space to be able to bring their lunch and also to bring their kind of work stuff. And so what would end up happening is they would go to work, and then, as a typical, it would be their mother, their wife, their daughter, someone in their family would at home then prepare the lunch, and a Dabawala would come to their house, collect the lunch at sort of 9 a.m, bring them into the city. They all come in on trains, all the lunches, and then between about 11:45 and 12:15 outside the station, they are all collected and they are sent to the offices. And what is incredible about this is all that's written on the outside of the package is a kind of random code. There's not barcodes, there's no sort of like technical system. But what they said is there has been the rate in which people get the wrong meal is 1 in every 6 million meals. Every 1 in 6 million goes wrong, and so much so infrequently does it happen that someone gets the wrong meal that they made a film out of it called Lunchbox, which I haven't seen, but now I'm going to go watch because it sounds really good. And so just seeing this process, and also again, a bit like with the Dobies, this is an occupation that's kind of passed down through generations. So if your father was one, then it's likely then the son would hopefully become one. And so we met kind of the youngest, and then we met one who's been doing it, and he's sort of a 4th generation Dabawala, and he kind of talked us through all the codes and how it all works. So we went to see that and see how all the lunches went out, and it is amazing, from the road being absolutely packed with people loading, dozens and dozens of lunches onto their bikes. About 10 minutes later, the entire road was empty and all the lunches are gone. And what is amazing is at the end of the day, they then also pick up all the lunches, all the boxes. They are taken to be cleaned. People have the ability to put a sticker on their lunch which says, "Share my food." And if someone's put a sticker on that, when it gets sent to be cleaned, any leftover food is then taken and distributed to people in the city who need more food, to any areas where they're really struggling with starvation. So they already, effectively in a way, it's forming a sort of food bank. And then the meal, the tins, the bags, everything they're in is the same evening returned back to the house. And in order to have this, I think they said they pay something like 1,500 rupee a month, which is £15 or something in the UK. So it's, what an incredible thing. And I guess only functions through the sheer number of people that do it, and through the technical kind of skill that has been handed from generation to generation. So we went to go see all those. And then after that, we went for lunch at a Parsi cafe. And that's the sort of cafes which are really quite unique to Mumbai. And it's kind of has a mix of kind of Indian and Iranian food, and had this most delicious lunch. And I was far too busy eating to take any pictures of the food. As your profiling will happen throughout, I'm sort of not really into videoing my food. I feel like I'm not there yet. So after lunch, we went to go visit the most incredible train station, and our guide said apparently it's sort of been rated the 2nd best train station in the world, with the first being St Pancras. And as a Londoner, I can tell you this one was better than St Pancras. It is it used to be called the Victoria Station, and now it is, I'm going to read this because I'll get it wrong, it's called the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaja Terminus, and it is the most beautiful building. I've got loads of videos I'll kind of overlay of all the carvings, and actually quite interestingly the building was designed by Rudyard Kipling's father, who was based in India, and it's got kind of a real mix of, almost feels at times a bit arts and craftsy, kind of UK, but then you have lions and you've got monkeys and you've got tigers and you've got all these kind of exotic carvings which feel so Indian. And so it was a really kind of beautiful building, very inspiring. Took loads of photos. I could see a lot of kind of motifs that you'd want to take from that, of kind of these dragons swooping around and things like that. And from there, we then actually went and got on a commuter train, which was really fun because, again, everyone is so friendly. And the moment we got on, everyone got up in order to try and give us their seats. And again, that just wouldn't happen in London. But also, not if you saw tourists in London. If anything, you're more likely to hold on to your seat. But what was really interesting is the doors on the train do not close. And apparently, if you live on the train line or something and you get on a train, a lot of commuters, if they get on the train, which is the fast train, and it goes their route, but it doesn't stop at their route, people get very skilled at jumping off the train when they want to, which seems to me quite mad. But that was sort of, again, it's properly seeing how people actually live in this city of so many million. And we went there, got on the train in order, our last stop of the day was to the spice market. And I have been to a couple of spice markets in cities in the past. I've been to kind of the ones in Istanbul where there's mounds of colourful spices and everything, but it feels quite, it's so photogenic and it feels really set up for that. This was very different. This one, people go there with a sort of almost like this checklist. And on the checklist, you say your quantities you want of different spices, and you'll say, I want a 5 kilogram bag. And people go with their own sort of, their family recipes, their secret recipes. And they have their spices kind of toasted, fried up, and then pulverised, and go home with their specific spice mix. So it wasn't anything like what I'd expected it to be from kind of my sort of naive view of a spice market, but it far more felt like actually the way people really function. And Sian, Tuhina, Amen, our guides, were sort of showing us, we met a few women who were there, one of them who was from Mumbai and had her sister was visiting, and they'd come to the spice market in order to get her batches of spices made up for her to go home with, and she was sort of going home with 10 kilogram bags of spices. And then we had the best chai tea I've ever had. So that is the day. Now, obviously, this is a sort of textiles tour, but when we were in Mumbai, it was always going to be a far more kind of cultural, go see the sites, and in such a short space of time, just try get a brief feel for the city, which I have loved. It's such an interesting city. I feel like it's so full of life, but feels so welcoming, and definitely one I'd like to spend more time in. So tomorrow we are off to Ahmedabad, which I might be saying wrong again, and we're going to Ahmedabad, and then that's when we start getting into Gujarat, and then we start going down into the textiles and everything like that. So I will update you after another couple of days when we've done a bit more and send you some videos. Bye!